Hi, I'm Keely, also known as Kelly.
And I'm Feely, also known as Alex.
Welcome to our corner of the Shire,
where we will show you how to bring Middle-earth
into your daily life to keep you
a happy hobbit.
Welcome to this episode of Happy Hobbit. This is our 2020 Easter episode, or Easter special maybe I should say.
Yeah.
That's right, gotta love my live studio audience.
Ow!
We're one of the few shows left during the lockdown of the pandemic that still has a live studio audience. Isn't that great?
Yeah! I can't hear you, you're 6 feet away!
Yep, that might sound like Feely, but trust me, we've got like so many fans in our kitchen right now. So, on to the recipe. I wonder if you can see that I'm wearing sweatpants, I just thought of that. This half looks nice though, so it even has a butterfly pin. So, focus on this half. So today, we are going to be making a recipe called Best Ever Carrot Cake. And I've made some improvements to it that I think truly make it the best ever carrot cake. So you're going to get KILI'S version of the recipe. And for this recipe, you will need 4 eggs. These are eggs from our hens. And that's why it's a good recipe to make in the springtime, because if you have chickens, they're producing a lot of eggs and as the days get lighter. And these eggs have been washed just recently, because as we taught you in our egg episode a million years ago, that when eggs are laid by chickens, they have a protective film on them. And if they're your own eggs, you don't have to wash them until you're about to eat them. Otherwise, you're potentially allowing them to get yucky earlier than they should because you're washing off that protective film. You will also need, I really want to bite it, but I won't, carrots, enough to make 3 cups of carrots. A little bowl to beat the eggs in, some cooking oil, measuring accoutrements, sugar, baking powder, baking soda. Right, let's give a shout out to the baking soda. Underappreciated. I like to use a sifter. That's one of my tips that makes this recipe special. Optional pecans, flour, and KILI'S old nemesis. What is this thing called again? Not a mixer, it's a processor. Yeah, thank you to my studio audience. It is a food processor, miniature one, that I might have more success with than another one in the past. Making pumpkin pie. Keely touched all this stuff. Keely. Excuse me? What are you doing on the set? What are you doing on the set? No! Where is security? Where are our bounders?
Oh God! Sorry! Here!
Thank you.
I'm just kidding, I'm too lazy. I mean, I can't get too close anyway, you know how it is.
How do you arrest someone being over 6 Hobbit feet away?
Yeah, use a little lasso from Azog's dad. I inherited it.
I forgot to mention, you will also need 2 9-inch round cake pans. Now, I'm going to show you a very clever trick. If you get frustrated when you make a cake and you flip it and chunks stick to the bottom, even though you may have greased it and floured it.
We hate that!
Yeah, don't we?
Yeah!
You know, hate's a powerful word, actually. I shouldn't encourage you to use it. You dislike it. You strongly dislike it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta be careful what you put out into the Middle-earth universe. Muttering out there for you. Anyways, this is my trick. So first, I will spray the pans with non-stick canola cooking oil. Now you can use any oil of your preference. You don't want to go too much, just enough to coat it.
We've heard there's a few dragons who can actually do that task for you with the type of special nostril exhale, but
they have to be
it's hard to find
a diet first.
Yeah, it's a very rigorous process.
Yeah.
Expensive to keep.
And I'm all about convenience. So, look at this! These adorable little parchment 9-inch circles that I wish I had in my life, the whole life of my life. Because I'm a writer. And I would always take, if you don't have these, you can do it the way that Keili did it for most of her life, which was you take a piece of parchment and you set it down and you use the cake pan to trace the circle and you cut the circle out. Then you place the circle into the bottom of the cake pan like that. But these are so nifty, and we found them online. And you can get a big pack of them for not too much money, and boy oh boy, when you're making lots of cakes or lots of layers on a cake and you have to cut out those circles and then you waste pieces of parchment paper, it starts to wear on you. So this is a good alternative. And I will tell you, you can flip it every time, and as you'll see later, you peel off the parchment.
Peel?
You peel it all off.
How?
Sometimes a little bit of the cake sticks to the parchment, but it's minimal. It's minimal. No, it's okay, guys. Calm down. This isn't a horror show. So now I'm going to take the flour and flour a little bit of the cake pans. So here's my little scooper. And put the flour in there. And just kind of give it a little pat it around. A little postman pat driving around town. I suppose only the UK and Irish members of our audience will get that reference. They have to be of a certain age as well. And what I like to do, because again I don't like to waste stuff, is reuse the flour. So that excess flour, this pan is done. Well, I should show you actually. Here's the finished product. It's not really a product, but here's the end result. So this is the leftover flour from the other pan, and I'm just really trying to coat the edges of the pan. If you've got kids, you could give them this task. They'd probably think it was really cool. And then there is a little flour left, but since it's got oil on it, I'm not going to return it to the canister. I'm going to put it in the sink. But at least I got good use out of it. Next we need to beat 4 eggs.
That sounds really mean.
I know, but like...
The world is harsh, man. Sometimes you just gotta beat those eggs.
It's a sad fact. Now it is time to beat 4 eggs. And when I say that, you don't have to be like, ah, and like stomp on them and attack them. All you really have to do is give them a little crack on the edge of the bowl. And use your thumbs, because I'm not a master chef, I can't do it with one hand. You use your thumbs like this, and you gently tease them apart. Oh, look at that, I still got shell in there. I seem to be a pro at that. So how you get a piece of shell out is you keep one of the egg halves, and you just scoop it out. If you've ever tried to scoop it out with a fork or a spoon, it's really frustrating because it doesn't want to stick to that metal. So there you go, another Kili trick. 2 eggs. Three. Sometimes I like to scrape to get all of that egg juice out. Now the eggs, as I'm sure I've said in other episodes, act as a leavening, so they help make the cake rise. There's the eggs. I'm going to wash my hands because we're very conscientious about hygiene on this cooking show. I don't actually know what the brown things are in there, but I trust our chickens, so I just leave them.
You just pretend they're not there, is what I do.
Usually, yeah, I just pretend I didn't see it. So this is how I scramble
I do it a lot of my life.
Yeah, when there's weird things in your food, you just tell yourself you didn't see that and you keep going.
It's fine, I didn't even notice it.
So look, as I mix more and more with my fork, this is the beating the eggs, this is the scrambling the eggs. I'm not noticing those brown things as much, but look at this rich orange color. This is because our chickens are thankfully very healthy right now, and they're producing this rich orange in the center of their eggs.
Chop it.
So I am dicing up the carrots. If you do not have a food processor, you can use a shredder and shred the carrots into really small pieces. But one time I got this food processor to work, and it was so nice to have its help because it takes a really long time and you end up shredding off like part of your fingernails if you're grating the carrot. So I know I'm not the best chopper in the world. In fact, I'm pretty bad at it.
Look at her go! Oh!
The audience doesn't seem to think I'm that bad.
Yeah!
So I'm just putting these into smaller pieces to make it easier on our little guy.
Look at those little guys.
He didn't quite. Oh,
He's just not ready yet.
interesting fact, the Romans, when they ate or used carrots, they cut them lengthwise because they had to be difficult with everything. If you've ever studied Latin, you'll know what I mean. Like, when I studied that language and I found out how complicated it was just to say a sentence, I understood how they took over like a quarter of the world. But the barbarians, who was anyone who wasn't Roman, they cut it this way. And one of the things the Romans freaked out about was seeing Germanic stew with the carrots popping up in it like this that looked like eyes, they said. That's a fun historical fact.
She's a liar. I don't think so.
I don't know if I'm in the shot or not, but I'm not a liar. I read it in a book, not on the internet.
I see her. I believe you now, Keely. I believe you.
Now the time has come. The great food processing moment of our age. This thing is scary. Try not to touch it. Oh, there's gross stuff in it. Good thing I looked because there would have been whatever that gross stuff was in our cake. Alright, put the blade in first.
Comment on YouTube. Looks like you did a real good job cleaning it, seeing as you were at the sink for 2 seconds.
Just got it out. It's going to be baked at like 375 degrees. It'll kill even.
Oh yeah, I agree. I'm sorry. I'm just predicting full. I just predicted it full.
Okay, so I've got the processor pretty filled up here. And I'm going to go ahead and hope that it gives me a whirl. Alright, here we go.
Oh!
It's very loud and scary. I want to plug my ears, but I can't plug my ears and push the button at the same time. So, the finer you have it, the nicer it'll be in your cake. Unless you like chunks. If you really like chunks, then, you know, you don't have to pulse it for quite as long. But I think that this is an ideal texture.
Have you ever had it more chunky?
Yes. Back when I was a grater and I would grate the carrot, I couldn't really control the size of the chunks. Sometimes I make too much of this shredded carrot. And when I do, I keep it and I set it aside and I put it in things. You're all gonna think I'm a weirdo.
Like quesadillas.
Yes. I make cheese and carrot quesadillas. And if I have shredded cabbage to add to that.
Oh yeah, that sounds better to me.
That crunch, that veg
Cabbage
matter.
is good.
Yeah.
I mean, carrots are good too.
Okay, so now I need to see how much of this do I have. I'm gonna take my little spatula. This is my 1 cup measurer. And measure away. Boy, I'm not very talented. Some carrot on the cutting board, which I made as a teenager. I'm always so proud of that, and I don't know how I did it, and I think that my 4-H instructor actually gave me a lot of help. I'm gonna pack it, you know? I'm gonna pack it. I like
Pack it like a
carrots in my carrot
dwarven
cake.
bag.
I'm packing it like a dwarven bag. Alright, so there's 1 cup. Put it in my I don't know where I should have this.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay. Put it in. And what else do I have? This looks like it might be 2 cups, which is perfect. I might have guessed the right amount of carrot. Then that means I don't get a carrot quesadilla though. I mean, look, most of us don't have the healthiest of diets. You gotta get your vegetables in creative ways. I'll say this is, when I combine it, this stuff.
Yeah.
This is a cup.
That counts.
Alright, so just one more.
Just like you pretend that it's basically a cup.
One more blend bend.
A blend bend?
I don't know why I said that.
You from Bend, Oregon?
Yeah! When we started filming, I was really hungry, and now I'm even more hungry. So this is actually a KILI cooking show with low blood sugar. That's why it's going to be unique. Alright, here we go. Round 2. There's some chunks in there. I'm like deaf now. Alright. Oh yes, there's gonna be leftovers. Of me being so hungry, I'm fantasizing about a carrot quesadilla now. You know, because I wasn't like quite accurate in my measurements earlier. There. So here we have 3 cups of shredded carrot. And for any of you who've made carrot cake the grating way, that was the most painful part. And now, the hard part is over. It's all down here, hill from here, folks.
Woo! Yeah! She ain't no liar! Oh!
That was a lie. See, I'm a lot taller.
Ah!
Now it's time to combine our wet ingredients. So here's our shredded carrot, and to that we're going to add 3 beaten eggs. Look, you can't see anything weird in it. Never was there. So, the eggs. And then to that we add 3/4 of a cup of cooking oil. And this is how I'm just going to do it. I know you could just do it with 1/2 cup and 1/4 of a cup or a 3/4 cup measure, but this is what I saw right in front of me, so this is how I'm doing it.
That's what you do, and then you forget how many you've done. That's the only problem. At least for me.
Yeah, that time I was able to count, but... Alright, so this is gonna look really strange. Doesn't look that bad, actually.
Yeah.
Get it all moistened and combined.
Yeah.
That's a term they use in recipes, combined. I would just say mixed.
Combined.
Now we're going to combine the dry ingredients, which are 2 cups of flour. Can you see this? Yeah. Okay. This is how you measure flour, guys. You don't just go like that, because the force of doing that scoop is going to pack in more flour than maybe you need. So you always want to use a scooper to put it into your measuring cup, and then just kind of give it a shake to level it off.
It's good to know.
Yeah, the audience doesn't know these things, but I do. I learned this in my home ec class in junior high, back when junior highs existed, they weren't all middle schools. That's how old I am. And I wasn't like shaking like that because I'm old, I was just trying to level it. So here's the 2 cups of all-purpose flour. And then you will also need 2 cups of sugar.
Just imagine Elron's egg rolls.
This is probably why they have you do the dry ingredients first, because then your measuring cups aren't all wet when you're going to work with them. But luckily we have 2 1-cup measurers. So here comes 2 cups of sugar. Here's 1 cup. Now my little sifter is almost full, but that's okay. Doing this with intent. This is a lot of... I'm not quite filling that one up all the way, because you know what? That's a freaking Smaug ton of sugar. And sometimes I've noticed. Someone in the audience sneezed. Get the COVID, please. Get the COVID, please.
Your mouth with a Kleenex or your elbow. Then get out.
Well, sometimes I reduce the sugar in recipes because I always wonder, does the recipe really need that much, or did the sugar industry put it there to sell sugar? But also, I have a sweet tooth, but sometimes it's like, once you reach a certain amount of sugar, more sugar is just white noise. Alright, sifting away. Okay, I realize that was basically 2 full cups, but you get my point. This is where you can add your spices. Now they say 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon is optional, but this is what makes this cake my KILI'S specialty. I don't stop there. You know, if you've seen our spice episodes, like our pumpkin bread and stuff, you know that
We've got to triple the spice.
we don't mess around. There you go, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Oh, oops! What's this? Another? And what's over here?
Yeah!
Some ground ginger.
Yeah, she's going crazy.
Oh,
Never mind. She's getting
there
there.
we go. This is a quarter. All right, well. This is how I measure spices.
Ginger.
Ginger. And I love nutmeg. Mmm, nutty. I'm nutty for nutmeg. So, here goes some nutty nutmeg. You know what? This.
She's gone.
I told you, I'm low blood sugar. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, well, there we go. And cloves. Yeah, why not? It's a sprinkle top. Isn't that a work of art? That looks like some sort of desert on a different planet. So, what else? Then I need to add half a teaspoon of baking soda. Here's the baking soda. One of these is a half. That's a half. So when you're measuring baking soda, scoop it and press it flush against the side of the box and kind of rub it, and that levels it off. It's very nice and handy that way. So there's my half a teaspoon of baking soda. And that is it for the dry ingredients, folks.
Wow!
Right?
Yeah!
Now let's sift it up. Sifting. Mix it all up.
Apologies for the disembodied limbs.
Oh, my
The
limbs.
camera woman is seated.
Now is the moment we've all been waiting for. We get to combine the carrot mixture with the dry, spicy, sugary, floury mixture. Here we go. Bloppy, bloppy, bloppy. Some of you might be wondering, why is she making a carrot cake for Easter time? That's because if you haven't heard, rabbits love carrots. And who comes at Easter?
Peter Rabbit?
I wish it was Peter Rabbit. I love Peter Rabbit, but no. The Easter Bunny. This is tickling my nose. You gotta be careful. Everyone's gonna think I've got the disease now.
I know, and I've been coughing out of nowhere.
It's also allergy season. Our family is actually very careful in taking this very seriously because we have multiple at-risk people in our house. And we would be taking it seriously anyway because we're just like that.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
So this is a thick mixture.
That thing is monstrous.
The carrots really bulk it up. There we go, that's pretty well mixed. Now, this part I always find challenging, getting an even amount into each pan.
Wow, that is a very thick batter.
It is. Especially on this ginormous spoon.
Yeah, it looks like you're feeding Hagrid baby food.
Baby Hagrid! Oh dear, I slopped it.
She slopped it.
It is. It's like some sort of gruel or goulash that you just want to eat. And look, if you really are one of those people that has to have raisins, you can add raisins. I'm not a big raisin and baked goods fan, so I'm not adding them. But if you wanted to, I don't even know when you would. But at some step in the baking or in the mixing process, I suppose you'd add raisins. Maybe when I was just doing that, like mixing it all up, you would have added some golden raisins.
Golden
probably.
raisins are not as offensive.
They aren't. I agree about that. They're sweeter. They're a little less tough. I don't care if this is on my head.
They feel like they're more supposed to be there.
Yeah, that you can't, again, you can't see it. If you can't see the weird thing, is it really there? Even though you already saw it once before. But it's like the golden raisins blend in more, so you're like, oh, am I chewing something strange and raisiny? No, I'm not. I couldn't really see it. Things you learn from Happy Hobbit that you never thought you would learn.
So next time, kids, you see something gross in your food, don't tell your parents. Eat it.
And I'll tell you the backstory of this cutting board that I was so proud of. Why did I make one in my 4-H woodworking class? Because our cutting board had gotten to the point that once or twice I found slivers of wood in my food, so, you know, it was time for an upgrade. Alright. What I'm going to do now is take the spatula and just try to even it out a little. I can't do it because I'm on top of a towel at the moment. But one thing I like to do, especially with cakes, to make sure that they're even in the pan, is to give them a spin on my counter surface. Whoa. And just let the centrifugal force of, I guess, gravity and physics do the leveling for me. I can try to do it. Let me move the towel. Let's see if I can make some magic happen. Alright, ready? Woo! There, now it's all even. Do it with the second one.
That is cool.
Yeah, see how it all just kind of goes back down to the middle?
Beautiful.
Levels itself out. You're going to place these in the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit and bake them for 30 to 35 minutes, or until you insert a toothpick and it comes out clean. This is a moist, dense cake, and I can't wait for it.
Carrot quesadilla. Has a sweetness, a crunch. It's really good, you gotta try it. Hits the spot.
I've temporarily lost my videographer, but apparently this is a dwarf cooking show now because I'm on my knees. But I am going to chop up and toast some pecans to put onto the cake as a garnish because they add this nice crunch. And you can have this carrot cake without these as well, and I've had it several times either way. But I find that this is really nice. They add a really nice crunch, and the toasted factor helps as well. So the first thing you're going to want to do is, everything's all cleaned and put away from earlier, is start chopping up your pecans. And again, I know I'm not like the best chopper in the world, but it gets the job done, and I don't want to curse myself, but so far I've not lost a finger or the tip of a finger or anything. That's, like most people, my fear when I'm chopping things up. So, and I know that there's like tips from professional chefs about how to hold the knives and everything, and one of my big character flaws is impatience with things like that. When I know that I can get it done doing it another way, I will, like a bad human, just revert to, you know, the way I'm most familiar with. Which is how I'm doing it right now, because that to me is the least stressful and more comforting way of how to chop these nuts up. And I'm sure many of you out there are nodding your heads, because we can't all be professional chefs. So how small do you want to dice these? That's really up to your discretion. I think that they are better smaller rather than larger, because it gives you a lot more nut surface area to be toasted and browned. And it's just easier to eat. You know, you don't get like a big hard chunk. And of course, think of the people who are eating it. If someone's got issues with chewing or something, then of course we'll want to do smaller bits. And I suppose this is something that our new friend, the food processor, could help with, but I don't think we're that close yet. We're not there yet in our relationship. Here we go, pretend I know what I'm doing. Yeah. My live studio audience is in the, I'm just taking a break. Alright, that looks pretty good. I'd say that's about a cup. So what you do is you spread them onto a cookie sheet, a shallow baking sheet. Spread them out, let them get as much surface area as possible, and I'm going to put them in at 350 for the last 10 minutes of the cake baking, just to get them toasted. Here are the cakes out of the oven. So you let them cool on the rack for 10 minutes, then we'll run a knife around the edge and flip them. And here are the lovely toasted pecans. It has been 10 minutes, so this step you may not have to do, but because I've had cake disasters in the past, I'm just running a butter knife along the edge to make sure that it's not, oh yeah, see, there was a little sticky spot, even though I put on the spray and the flour. All the way around. And then my tip to flip is to put the cake pan down there, and they are still a little warm, so be careful. Grab the rims. I flip the cooling rack over, and I use my thumbs to grab the edge of the cake pan and flip it like that. Yeah! Here's the moment of truth. Oh! Look at that. Pretty clean pan as well.
Flawless.
And here we go. This is the peel we were talking about. Alright. Look at that.
Slick.
I wanted to say easy as pie, but I argue that pie isn't so easy. Steaming off. Ooh, that nice smooth bottom like a baby. Now it's time to make the frosting, and as most of you probably know, carrot cake is best with cream cheese frosting. Now, I'm one of those strange people who is not super into cream cheese. So I've tried making this frosting before with only 1/4 of the cream cheese. But now I have my go-to, never fail, cream cheese emulsion. I love this stuff because you can have the flavor of the cream cheese without the calories, and to me it actually tastes a little bit better than actual cream cheese. So to make the frosting, I have 2 sticks of unsalted butter that have been sitting out to soften, and I have not done the classic Happy Hobbit hack of always microwaving it too much. And to that I am going to add, you might recognize this, it's a little dusty. This is our homemade vanilla from a few Christmas episodes ago. I'm gonna add, oh, it smells so good, a teaspoon of the vanilla. And really, if you're doing a substitute like this, you flavor it to taste. Give it a little shake. I think you're supposed to shake. Yeah, shake well before using. So I'm gonna, oh, this hat. I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of this. Now, you can find this, I first got it from King Arthur flour, but you can now find this, I believe, on Amazon. That's where I got this replacement, which is, you know, that big Mitchell Delving market.
Mm-hmm. They have a lot of plants from the Amazon there, so that's why it's called that.
Yeah.
It's a big garden of jungle plants in the middle of all of them.
So my other trick is to sift the powdered sugar. So I'm going to add about 3 cups of powdered sugar, and by sifting it, you're just helping it break up and become finer particles, so that when you do blend it all together, there's less likelihood of getting chunks. And when I have chunks like that, I just use my hand and smash them down, because the point is just to break up the chunks. So there's 1 cup. Here comes cup number 2. And frosting is one of those things you can just kind of play around with and make it as per your preferences. I've seen some frostings that are really heavy on the butter and light on the sugar, some that are the opposite of that, and then of course there's the whole world of fondant and ganaches.
That's how you say it?
Ganache?
I thought it was ganache.
Oh, maybe it is ganache. It probably is ganache.
Ganache.
Yeah,
Sounds
ganache
like
sounds too American. It's probably ganache, all European and fancy.
It sounds French or something.
Yeah, it probably is. They know what they're doing when it comes to food. Alright, 3rd cup. And like I said, you can do this to taste. So, oh no.
You bad kid.
Well, we were busy filming Missy being broke into her treats and was eating them.
This is why, you know, we don't have live audiences very often.
Missy, are you gonna be a beast now? Alright, so we've got it all in there, and I'm just gonna blend.
You can go for it, you know? Maybe a little.
I think she doesn't like that. I forgot. You also add a dash of milk.
You just were Smaug style close to the camera.
You do have to be really careful adding milk because
Oh, yeah.
it'll dissolve the powdered sugar, and then you could get into this horrible race of liquid versus dry.
It's terrible if you have too much milk.
Yeah.
Always go easy.
Go less than what you think you need.
You can always add more.
This is looking good. So the way I test if it needs any more liquid or not is to feel, I imagine if I were spreading it, This still feels a little thick. I might add a teeny drop of milk and then whip it. Just a little. Alright. Like Feely or whoever that was in the audience said, you want to do less rather than more. Take a second to scrape the bowl. And there we have it. You know, I should do a taste test.
Smells good.
It's perfect.
Magnifique.
Yeah. What I might do is right before I frost the cake, which you have to wait till it's completely cooled, I might add a teeny bit more cream cheese and whip it just to keep it all, you know, the same consistency.
That smells amazing.
Then start spreading, and here's our toasted pecans to go on top.
Ooh.
See you when the cakes are cool. Well, we ran out of daylight hours to film yesterday, so I saved the frosting of the cake for today. As you can see, I have our frosting, and what I did was I added a little bit more of the cream cheese flavoring, scraped the sides of the bowl where it was getting a little crusty, and just made sure to whip it really well. So hopefully it's all combined properly. I also have the toasted nuts, and the cake sat overnight. We separated the layers with wax paper, and I don't recommend doing this unless you have to, but yesterday was actually our brother, who you know as either Boromir or former Maggot. It was his birthday. So last night we were busy doing birthday things, and that's part of why I couldn't finish filming. But my top looks really crooked. Alright, now that I'm fixed my appearance. So when you bake a cake, this one's so gooey and moist. There's a flat side and a rounded side. And the way I put the cakes together is to put the two, I call them the butts, the two flat ends together. So I'm going to switch the angle now to film just the plate so you can see what I'm doing. And I will show you how to frost the carrot cake. I'm taking my gooey cake and just centering it on the plate. There we go. Look at that, it came off on my hand. That's how gooey this cake is. So I'm actually going to just use a decorative towel from yesterday to wipe that off. And this is probably the hardest part about frosting, is how do you decide how much to go in the middle? Because you don't want to put too little in the middle, but I've been in plenty of situations where I've also put too much in the middle and just had gobs of frosting on the outside and it's super thin. Sorry, I just said the opposite. I've been in situations where I've put too little in the middle and had gobs on the outside, and then I've been in other situations where I put way too much in the middle. So what I did, obviously, is I just put down a big blob, and if you're into making cakes and you don't have one of these little spatulas, I highly recommend them. The angle just makes it so much easier than using a knife. I believe these are actually supposed to be for like making smaller edible decorations, like flowers and stuff. And that like the cake decorating ones are a lot bigger, but I actually really like the control I can get with this small one and how I can just scrape it off the side and then scrape it back onto the spatula. So this is a thick frosting, and I'm just kind of scraping it to the sides, pushing it around. You want to get it as even as you can, but look, here's one thing I've learned from being a baker for many years. A lot of the food photography pictures out there are fake. And I say fake because I'm pretty sure a lot of the things that they use for the frostings and stuff, for these really intricately decorated cookies and cakes, are not made of frosting material. Like they're made of like, they've got flour in them to make them thicker or something. And the other thing is that so long as it tastes delicious, yes, you can try to do the presentation as nice as possible, but I've gotten frustrated so many times when my attempts at culinary art do not turn out like the pictures. And I'm getting over that now. And that's why I'm telling you guys that like this cake turns out delicious. So that's your goal, really. You know, dessert is for eating, not just for looking at. Let's see, I'm gonna try chance. I'm gauging how much I have. This, I won't go more than that. I don't want to put more than that on. Now it's important to wait until your cakes are completely cool, because this is also learning from experience. What can happen is if the cake, even if it feels cool on the outside and it's a little warm on the inside, what's frosting made of? Butter. What does butter do? Especially on Happy Hobbit. It melts. So if you start frosting a cake and it hasn't cooled completely yet and you add the layers together, that cake's going to become the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And that's a situation you really don't want to end up in. And if your frosting's too runny, you can end up in that situation as well. So that's why it is really important to wait until your cake cools completely. Oh, this smells delicious. Well, here I go, putting the other edge down. And it's okay if your frosting is gooping out the sides a little, because you're gonna spread that soon anyway. And what I do is I just start by putting a little bit of frosting on the side. And I do the sides first before I do the top of the cake. So that's another reason why I love this spatula, is look how nicely it cements on the frosting. And again, that's another reason why you have to wait till the cake's cool completely, because you wouldn't want this dripping down the side. Now, if you want to be super tidy, you can put some little pieces of wax or parchment paper at the base of the cake so that any frosting that gets on it, you can then just tug those free and it will make the plate look really tidy. But the presentation that I'm focused on right now isn't to do with the cake, it's to do with, isn't to do with the plate, it is to do with the cake. So this might not look spectacular yet, but when I finish going around all the edges, when I get finished going around all the edges, I will smooth it out. And when I put enough on the top, that'll give me a better idea of how much frosting I have to work with. Something kind of strange looking. Instead of pretending I didn't see it, I just picked it out. I think it was just a little bit of the cake that had some spice in it, so it was darker than the rest. But just in case, you know. And so now you know, even though I didn't set out to show you guys this, now you know that you can make the majority of the cake ahead of time and frost it later. And you can actually even freeze cakes, which is a good tactic if you know you're going to be really busy around a holiday. You can bake just the actual cake layer part itself and freeze it and then let it thaw for the big day and make your frosting that day. Now this cake is so moist that I'm not having much of a crumb issue. There's a little bit there. Okay, so I'll worry about smoothing this out shortly. First, I'm going to cover the top. And it looks like I could have put more in the middle, but that's okay. This cake in particular is so moist that you don't need a ton of frosting in the middle. Each bite is wet. My mom is not a big cake person. She prefers ice cream. I love ice cream too, and if I had a choice, I'd usually choose ice cream as well. But she loves this cake. She's even less of a cake person than I am. And I love this cake. And in fact, everyone I've ever made this cake for has loved this cake. So hopefully you guys will love this cake as well. I obviously am starting with a plop of frosting in the center. Maybe I did guess this right. I forgot the frosting is thicker. And then I'm just kind of pushing it out towards the edges. And you're not, with a buttercream frosting, you're never going to get that silky smooth finish that you'd get with something like fondant. That's fine because I think fondant's a little like cheating anyway. I mean, you roll it out, you buy it pre-made and you roll it out. Though I suppose I cheated by using a food processor. You just want to smooth it to the edge. And if you see a spot where the cake's kind of showing through, you can add more frosting there. With cakes that are a bit crumblier, it's important to get a thin layer of frosting down before you do a lot of spreading, just to kind of seal in the crumbs. But like I said, this cake is really moist and you don't really have to worry about that. I'm hoping this is more soothing than boring, watching me frost the cake. I'm chatting away because I feel like this might be kind of boring. Actually, I was right. My frosting ratio, I'm not going to have extra. Wow, all the times I've made this carrot cake might be paying off. And I suppose it's up to personal preference if you like more frosting in the middle or if you like more frosting on the outside. Another thing you can do with frosting like this is if your cake has turned out kind of uneven and lopsided, you can attempt to hide that, if you wish, by piling on the frosting in one spot, which I've done before with a chocolate cake, and that made it extra delicious when you got to the spot where there was a bunch of chocolate frosting. A little hidden delight. Okay. Now, I've mainly got it frosted, and I'm going to start smoothing it out a little. So I'm going to clean off my spatula like that. Maybe add a little frosting there. And I'm just running it along the edge. And when you do have frosting hanging over, it is easier to smooth it. But again, I'm not entering this cake in the county fair. I'm not going for an award here. Sometimes it's enough just to get the job done. And I've seen other cakes too where people only frost the middle. And I think that looks quite elegant. In fact, that's more of a UK thing, to make a sponge, as they would call it. Now this is the only time where you have to work a little fast because this buttercream frosting will slowly harden over time. And while it's soft, if you want to do any decorating, you need to put your decorations on while it's soft so that they stick. These are Royal Frosting carrot decorations I got online probably years ago, but royal icing lasts a long time. So I'm just delicately peeling them off the wax paper and I'm going to arrange them in the center. Oops, that one broke. And you can also make decorations like this with royal icing if you want to. One time my sister made me an absolutely beautiful cake for my first, well, it wasn't really my first ever Hobbit party, but it was like my reboot of a Hobbit party back in 2012. And she, ooh, I've destroyed that one. I'm destroying that one too. I need to focus instead of talk. But she made the most beautiful royal icing flowers that we use to decorate the cake. I'm only going to chance trying to peel off one more because I think these are a little bit more delicate with age. There we go. So they're nestled in there. Well, they're not perfectly centered, but they'll do. And you could just leave your cake as is. Another time I decorated the sides with the toasted pecans, but that was really difficult and frustrating. So I'm just gonna sprinkle the pecans onto the top. All right. Sprinkling away. And of course this part's optional. And I will try to get some on the sides if I can. But it is an awkward thing to do. These pecans smell really nice. And it's also important, I should note, to let them cool completely because it'll cause the same problem. If you start putting hot, freshly toasted pecans onto the buttercream frosting, they're just gonna melt the butter beneath them and make a little well of melted butter. So this is why I don't really try to put it on the sides because it's just a very messy process. But since I have so many pecans and they are good with this, I'm going back on my word and I am trying to put them on the sides. And yeah, there's some on the plate, but that just means there'll be more on your plate when you serve yourself a slice. He's getting a little messier than I anticipated. Hopefully there'll be enough to go around. And there we go, I've made a total mess of the table. But a cake that doesn't look half bad. A very Hobbity cake. So there you have it. A delicious carrot cake fit for anyone in Middle-earth. For the elves in your lives and the hobbits. Don't know if the dwarves would really get into this, but you could try it. So from me and my carrot cake, I wish you a very Hobbity Easter. Alright, who farted? I'm serious. Who in the audience farted? I'm like gagging over here. I'm trying to be professional.
Sorry, I just really wanted to have a snack.
I knew it smelled like dwarf fart.
Yeah,
I knew
this is
it.
Ori.
Ori, you've gotta lay off of the pickled cabbage, okay? I know you're not into green stuff, and so you're like, oh, cabbage is okay because
That's
it's
all
green
I've got
white.
left in my cave. I can't leave Moria right now.
Yeah, I know Moria's underlocked. What are you doing in Moria? You're just the skeleton. You're the skeleton of Ori, aren't you?
How am I here? I'm in Moria!
That was weird.
You got your bobble, Missy?
Yeah, I put a quarter cup in it.
After you stole a bunch of snacks, you still get dinner.
It's like part of it.
I'm getting really hot and my nose is sweaty.
No, I see Ori and he's inside the cupboard. He's really small.
Yeah, I use a little lasso from Azog's dad. I inherited it. I don't know who I am though.
It's a strange thought, Azog's father.
I feel like Azog came out of a Play-Doh, like, tub.
The rare white Play-Doh container?
Yeah.
Someone, Saruman or someone just like pinched his
Yeah.
little ears into place and everything, and then
It's possible.
he came out and he was like, I'm albino and I don't care. I get
He kinda
really bad
looks like
sunburn,
Play-Doh.
but I don't care. He does. There. Okay.
What happened if you just put a whole carrot in the middle of a cake?
It would probably still be pretty hard. Like, it would soften a little.
Yeah. That's probably what elves do when it's hot dog night.
I don't think elves have hot dogs.
They might. I heard that Elrond has some.
Oh, who told you that? Ori?
Maybe Elrond and I, we talk.
Yeah, with your tie-dye shirts.
Yeah, we've done a lot of, what do the cool kids do these days? Zoom? We Zoom?
You TikTok?
Yeah, we TikTok and we Zoom.
Okay. Am I in it?
If you shrink slightly.
Does it look weird?
It looks good, hon.